Welcome to another painting tutorial from Warvision Gaming. I'm your host for this video, Kevin. In this tutorial we're gonna paint a Foetid Bloat drone. On the left you see already a model that I have finished, and this is the end result we're gonna work for. And in this tutorial we're gonna step by step, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to learn you all about how to paint the Foetid Bloat drone, all by hand, no airbrush, no cheating, no funny things, just pure brush skills. Okay, let's begin. Assembled the model, put some sand on the base, but I know you guys can figure it out that yourself. I've built it and I primed it Corax White. Okay, the first paint we're gonna use is Caliban Green. I've watered a little bit of the paint down on my palette with a little bit of water. And then we're gonna start painting the armor. You want a nice smooth first layer of paint. It doesn't have to cover, because we're gonna finish back later with a second coat. And you have to be careful not to hit the flesh areas. The flesh areas, you want them to be white, because we're going to use for the flesh tone some shades and some washes. So you want the Corax White, you want the flesh just Corax White, otherwise the effects won't come out. Be careful around parts that are close to the skin. Take your time. It's not a competition. Okay, and this is the first layer ready. You can see the white is a little bit showing through, but it's okay. Don't forget the armor plate beneath the body. And very important, this line has got to be very neat. So let's continue with the second coat of Caliban Green. And I started playing Nurgle / Death Guard, well, a couple of months ago, and I said it before in my Poxwalker how to paint tutorial. The army is suiting my style very good. I like the rotten ID, I like the plague infested minds and bodies, and yeah, I like the whole ID. I've got a giant, a big painted Blood Angel army. I like Blood Angels too. Also suits my style. I've got a unpainted Elder army. All those armies you're gonna see in near future projects and videos, because we are just started with this channel and there's a lot more to come. I've got an entire cabinet full of unpainted Space Wolf, Flyers, Cavalry, Veneration Wolves. So all that units we can make a tutorial of how to paint. And I'm eager for the release of Mortarium. Eager to start a how to paint fit of him. I saw some rumors about the new Nurgle tank and I want to play that too. This is for my Death Guard army, and I will buy some plague drones and some plague bearers of Nurgle and some Nurglings, and I've got a Demon Prince, a Forge World Demon Prince, and that model I've bought already painted, but the guy has done an awesome job. I've touched it up a little bit, but oh man, that Demon Prince is epic. I'm gonna use the Demon Prince in the battle report against Astra Militarum of my buddy Marak. Just a smooth second coat of paint. Just a very thin layer. Okay, and you also need to paint the armor plates of the plague spitters. Be careful on the inside. Be as neat as you possibly can. With the base coat of Caliban Green all done, the next paint we're gonna use is Loren Forest. But then what we're gonna use is tweezers. This is tweezers from an emergency kit, and I grabbed a little sponge thingy and with a little plastic binder clamped it between so we can stipple some paint. The sponge I used is this. It's a cabin filter of an lorry truck. You can get it by your local truck center or parts center for cars. Just a cabin filter, and you tear a little piece off like this, and then you make it like this. Okay, let's begin, boys and girls. My paint is almost empty, but there's enough in the pot to do these tricks. Okay, load up your sponge, then dip it off on a piece of toilet paper, and then we're gonna dab armor. Watch out for the areas around the skin. Just dab it. You can see it over here. And then take your time. Around the edges. You want the deepest parts, just like here, you want that Caliban Green showing through. I'm gonna grab my finish model so you can see over here the dark Caliban Green showing here and here and here, and also here and here in the deepest cracks. The Caliban Green is still showing, so you don't want the armor to cover completely with the Loren Forest paint. And then you just continue to layer the armor, and it's done when it suits your liking. Okay, look. This is a nice effect. And after this one, we're gonna use another green just to finish it off. Just gently stip. Work the paint around. Yeah, look. What an amazing effect. There's gonna be paint on the flesh, on the Corax White. It is inevitable, but we can finish and touch it up later, because we have a trick for that. But keep it to a minimum. Look, the front canopy is done. This is the color saturation that you are looking for. Still a little bit Caliban Green. Okay, over here is a little bit trickier. And you gotta twist and turn the sponge around just to fit in all the noonies and crackies. Look at this effect, boys and girls. The only part with this method that's hard to reach is over here, but that's why I've got an old brush, old big brush, and then I clip the bristles off, so you got I call it a mini stippler. So you're gonna load up your paint, dab it off, and look over here. That's almost the same consistency. And then you grab your model and you just dip it in between the recesses, but not too much. Not too much, because the Caliban Green is a shadow. I'm gonna use it as shadow, so Look at the structure of the sponge. It's great. It's really awesome. I haven't seen anybody else use this technique on the armor, so it also works great on vehicles. Use a spray can of Caliban Green, and then with your sponge you're gonna dip the Loren Green, and then with the final green, oh man, this is the effect you're looking for. And with the stibbling done, we're gonna now stibble Elysian Green on. Okay, I didn't wash my sponge. And then the same trick, load your brush up with the Elysian Green. And then just start to highlight and bringing the contrast into the armor. You want to focus on the edges. Look at that effect, so sweet. Okay, the stippling is now complete. And the armor is now complete. Well, except we need some washes now, but first we're gonna paint all the metallic areas bolt gun of Lead Belcher. I've diluted the paint a little bit with some water just to make it smooth. Because the paint tends to be a little bit too thick, especially when the paint is almost empty. Be really careful, close to the skin. But because it saves you time later on. So I finished all the metallic areas. This propeller unit, this propeller unit, this propeller unit, the nozzle, the rebreather things on the side of his head, those parts of the gun, the containers, the strapping, the harness for the engines, the piping beneath. That's what you want to gonna do. And I've painted the drum metallic, and now we're gonna start painting the bronze areas. Okay, the next step is Balthasar Gold. We're gonna paint all the bronze areas. I've diluted the paint with some water, as always. So you have a nice smooth finish, and what we're gonna do is paint the spikes bronze. Just like this. A nice smooth first layer of paint. Watch out for the metal areas. But these first steps aren't that important. Well, the armor painting progress with the sponge was important. And we finished painting all the bronze areas with Balthasar Gold. So what you're gonna do is paint the outer rim of the engines, paint the Mohawk, and over here you can see that I'm missing two of the studs. I don't know what is in the plastic, because the studs are very fragile, because these spikes are very firm and they won't break off that easily, this one or this one, but the spikes on top, they're very fragile. And this is the model before, and you can see it's the same problem, and I don't know why, but okay. Okay, so you have to paint this. You have to paint the little outlets of the engine. You have to paint the the suspension of the drum over here, and then the guns. You need to paint this, all bronze, the barrel, the suspension mount covering, the nozzle of the plague spitter, the guns. Okay, on to the next step. The next paint we're gonna use Averland Sunset, and with Averland Sunset we're going to paint this tubing all yellow. Okay, and you have to water down your paint with a little bit of water. It won't cover directly, so maybe you need 2 coats or 3 coats, but it's okay. It's a little bit too watery, my paint, but now I'm gonna use a smaller brush, because now we're getting into some finer details. This tubing I just done with a base brush, and well, I won't give you an exact format of using this brush and using that brush, because, well, I'm pretty good at painting small things with a base brush, and other people, yeah, they are grabbing a smaller brush, like a fine detail brush, but it's okay. If you paint more and more and more and more, you will know what I mean. It's also the way you load up your paint, your brush with paint. Some people, they're just jamming the brush in the paint, but you can also line your very tip of your brush and then just simply I've hit the bronze part over here with some yellow, but I can scratch it off, it's not a problem. Okay, next paint. And so the tubing on the other side of the Foetid Bloat drone, we're gonna paint the piping Khorne Red. The other side of the yellow pipe. Just added a little bit of water to the mixture, just to make the paint flow nice. And the piping over here is torn apart, it's torn open. What you would like to do is to base coat the entire tube. And you see over here, I've hit the metallic part with some red. but it's okay, we can fix it up. That's the reason why I paint. The camera stand is between us, so I can film and with the camera stand between us. I'm not used to it, so sometimes I hit the piping, other parts I don't want to get paint on, but I want to show you guys how easy it is to paint the blow throne pro style. But we're not pro painters, remember that. But don't tell anyone. Now is that done, I'm gonna touch the metal part up and then on to the next color. I base coated the yellow piping a second time for a more brighter appearance, and now we're gonna paint all the bone in the engines, this bone spikes, and over here at the canopy with Zandri Dust. Well, and again I've mixed up on my palette a little bit of Zandri Dust with a little bit of water, and then we're gonna paint. Finished painting all the bone, and you have to be careful to paint the bone all the way into the propeller, just like over here. And I forgot something. I forgot to paint the Nurgle fly bronze, so I'm now gonna do that. Sorry guys. Looking a lot more complete now. You're already seeing the result coming up, really nice. So, well, and don't forget to paint this tubing and that tubing over here. And now we're gonna paint the fly Khorne Red, this talisman Khorne Red. So I'll see you in the near future. You can also paint the fly a bone color or a brown color, but the red gives a nice contrast to the green and the golden parts and the metallic parts. Maybe you can also paint it like a dark blue or something, you know? Because contrast is very important. That's why I'm painting this talisman red. I'm avoiding the skulls. So you just paint the outer rim red. Be as neat as you can. Try not to hit the skulls. You can also knead it up afterwards, but So with the red parts complete, we're gonna now paint those two tentacles the first base color of Naggaroth Night. And we continue. We've painted all the base colors, and now we're gonna wash them with Agrax Earthshade. What you want to do is, I use a base brush and just wash the bone, wash the metallic, wash the gold. The only thing you don't want to wash is the skin, the white of the skin, and the canopy, the armor, the green armor. Just a nice coat. And if it pulls, if you have too much wash on your model, and when it pulls, you just have to wipe your brush off, and you can suck the excess right back in the bristles of your brush. And you can already see the effect that the wash gives, much more shade. And over here you can see that little bit too much wash, and you can soak it up, not a problem. Keep your wash, keep an eye on your wash. So even if we finished this model, this propeller engine with the wash, and we're gonna wash other parts, just keep an eye on that propeller. Move the wash around. And now the gun. So avoid the green part and avoid the white tentacles as much as you can. There will be wash on the white, it's almost inevitable, especially when I'm painting this with the camera in my way. But and you will have to wash the fly too, but you will have to be very gentle not to wash the green. The bone. Don't forget the backside. And if some of you are watching right now and have seen mine how to paint Poxwalker video tutorial, I want to say thanks, because it has almost 1,000 views and I didn't expect it to get 1,000 views that quick. So this is a beginning of something very nice. I've got so much projects. I got a lot of friends that play Warhammer, and yeah, there will be a lot more content coming up in the next months. You also want to wash the yellow piping, because you want to give some definition. That's a psychic definition. That's a psychic power in 7th edition. And over here you want a little bit of more wash, because you want to have a really strong shadow over here between the piping. So it's okay to do it just a little bit more than the weapons or the engines. And if you paint your bloat drone this style and it is all finished up and you followed my tutorial and the result is almost the same, please leave a comment below and make a movie of yourself so I can check it out. I'm eager to see what you guys made from these tutorials. So we now washed the engine, the horns, the plague spitter, tubing. Now we continue on this side. So we washed all the bone, bronze and metallic colors, piping, nozzle, plague inlets, plague spitter inlets. And then the last thing that we're gonna wash is these straps. And then with that said, I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush, because you want a little bit of more control, because you don't want to smack all the white under the Agrax Earthshade. You want the line between the metal and the flesh and the shade. A little bit too much over here, but don't matter, you can suck it up with your brush. But guys, look at that. Just only everybody can do this with a little bit of control. Only what you have to do is brush control. When I first started painting, I searched up for some images of people that have painted really epic models, and I always thought by myself, well, I'm not capable of doing that, but I've painted so much in so much time, and I always thought that you needed an airbrush to make something very nice, or a lot of tutorials you're seeing are the skin is made by an airbrush, but I challenge someone who can make this skin with an airbrush. I challenge them. Show me. Same as the armor. I don't want it to be flat. I want it to have structure, because with the stippling technique with the sponge it gives a little bit of structure, and that is what I need by Nurgle. These are the things I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a clean model, no. I'm looking for a diseased and rotten model. The only thing, or the only reason that I am thinking of to buy an airbrush is for my Harlequin army. I have a Harlequin army that I keep forgetting about, and it's all brand new, still in the plastic, and I want to make some diamond patterns and different techniques, but for that techniques I definitely need an airbrush. But for these kind of models you really don't need it. Just follow my tutorials. It's brush only. With this small tiny brush we're gonna make epic things. Bear with me. So now we wash the straps and well, we let it all dry. So when the wash is dry, we're gonna now dry brush the metal areas with Runefang Steel. You don't need much, because you don't want the metal areas to be that bright. We're gonna shade it afterwards again with Athonian Camoshade, but you want the highest parts of the metal just a little bit of brighter metal. So on a little bit of toilet paper, wipe excess, and let's start dry brushing. So all the metal areas, take your time for it. You see, just a little bit around the edges, inside. Always when you're dry brushing propellers, always stroke against the direction of the blades, so the silver will only catch on the highest parts. So you can see here on the blades a thin line of a little bit silver, more silver of the Runefang Steel, and that's what you're aiming for. You're gonna dull it down with the Athonian Camoshade afterwards, but it's okay. This is a good view. You can oversee here the Runefang Steel dry brush, and over here just a standard Agrax Earthshade and the bolt gun metal. So you see the left side is a little bit more brighter. So this side is done, and this side has to be. You see the color differentiation? Oh, derp. You see here the dry brush part. Really nice effect. You can only achieve it with a little bit of paint on your brush. Sometimes I load it up with way too much paint, but if you see it happening, just wipe it off. Just wipe your brush off intermittently. Look at that shiny ring. Done? Not done. Just brush the flake spitter because you want that. Look, what a cool effect it gives. Just to dry brush gold with Runefang Steel. Now we're gonna dry brush the bronze or gold areas with Retribrutor Armour. Load up your paint. Wipe it off. Okay. Well, you don't want much. Just the edges. Won't need much, it's just a little highlight. I've dry brushed some gold on the metallic areas on the Runefang Steel, so that is not good because it will make your silver a little bit yellowish. You can see over here just a little edge highlight of the gold. So for the fly on the canopy, the dry brush is a little bit too thick, so I grab my stippling brush again. It works great on a semi-dry brush stippling technique, but wipe excess off. Okay, you just gently Gently follow the lines of the fly. You can do this with almost every brush. But you need a little bit of large brush and just clip the bristles off. It works great on this brush is kind of firm. It's a little bit of thick bristle, so it works very great. Look, done. And then we're gonna use Athonian Camoshade just to shade the gold pieces. And you don't need much, and you don't want to wash everywhere. You just want the wash on some places where you find the gold a little bit too bright. Because just hit over here in the middle. Makes it a little bit of greenish. So here. That's all. A little bit of the on that metal thing. Look, it looks like gross. It gives a dirty look. Done. Look on the side. You don't want it everywhere, so keep that in mind. A little bit too much. You can always see. And then you're gonna patch the skin up. So where you made little mistakes, or a little bit of dry brushing, over brushing on the white, on the flesh areas, you neaten it up with a little bit of skull white. It's a little bit of brighter for color, but it don't matter at all. So just be sure that your paint is nice and watered down with water, so you don't clog up any details. So now we're gonna wash the skin with the Reikland Flesh, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna water it a little bit down. So I'm using my palette again. I think this should be enough. And then I'm adding some water, and the excess I pour back into the pot, what I don't use. So Okay. So now you want a nice smooth layer of wash on all the skin. So this should be the outcome, and you see that it's watered down because the wash is not that heavy, just to tone down the white, to fill up some cracks, shades. And you want the shade a little bit heavier on the line where the armor hits the flesh, so over here. Just make sure that you hit everything with your wash, all the white. So, and you can see already the skin tone is forming. It's a little bit of pink, but that's good. And I always paint my models assemble, because I've pinned the guns with a paper clip. I usually, with larger models, I pin, such as the guns over here. It's a little bit of fragile, so because I play a lot with my Warhammer and I carried my models around, so I want it to be firm. And my opinion is, if you paint in sub-assemblies, you will never get a really that kind of good fit. It sticks, but when your model falls on the ground, all the big parts are breaking off, and you will drop a model. It's gonna happen sooner or later. How careful you are. Look at the skin. It almost looks pro painted. But that's a secret. Don't forget the belly, because this is over here. That's a part of the skin showing through. So. So, the first layer of wash on the skin is complete. And what I do is I grab a paint bottle, top, and I'm gonna lay it gently down. So. If now the wash is start running or pooling, it will pool to the cracks. You want the wash to be the thickest. So the wash is dried, and you can see now the outcome. And this is the reason why you want to thin down your wash, because you want this part, and over here you can see it beautifully. Over here, that the color is lighter, and if you don't dilute your wash, this will be much more a pinker kind of color, because it stays more at the upper surface. With the water it flows more into the recesses. So now we're gonna apply a second coat of a watered down wash, and these areas you don't have to particularly wash, but you can do it. It's more, and you want to define the shades even more. Just a nice thin second layer. And when this layer is done, we're gonna wash it with some purples, some reds, maybe some blues. So this will be your end result. So we now let it dry. Grabbing my cup again. So place it in there gently. So let the wash dry. And with your second layer of wash is now completely dry, this should be the result. And now we're going to use Druchi Violet. That's the purple wash shade, and we're gonna shade the deepest recesses that you want to be bruised. Well, so around the inlets you want a little bit purple, and you want purple around the pustules, because that are areas that are a little bit bruised. Disgusting filth. Nice around the pustule, you can see it. A little bit over here. A little bit on the line over here. Of course in the crack. Over here so with some pustules. In the crack. Over here. I'm not diluting the paint, just straight out of the pot. Look, over there's a little bit too much, but you can suck it right back up. And some pustules. And if you have this line over here where the wash is beginning to dry, it's okay because we're gonna layer the skin all up, so you won't be seeing that anymore. But you can also use a red shade or a blue shade. I've tried to paint these areas over here with my first model, also metallic, but I've tried it and it worked, but I didn't like the outcome, so I'm just gonna wash them with a little bit of purple and that's it. I'm not going to be invested a lot of time in it, because if you do that metal, my personal preference is that it just don't look that right. I don't know what it is, so I only over here, very important, where the staples are in the skin, and over here. Okay, I think this should be enough, so we let it dry once more. And this will be your end result when the Druchi Violet has dried. And now we're gonna layer the skin up, and this part is a little bit tricky. I'm don't gonna tell you use this amount of drops from the Bugman's Glow paint, or use so many drops from the Palette Witch Flesh. That is all about feeling. You have to try, mix the paints together, paint a little bit on the model itself. Look how it stands, watch the color differentiation of the model and the mixed paints, and you can also always add more Bugman's Glow or more Pilot Witch Flesh. So now I'm going to show you. It's a little bit tricky, so I hope this will show off on camera. So the first color we're gonna use in our palette is Pilot Witch Flesh. I use 3 brushes. I use 3 old brushes to scoop the paint up and dip it in the palette. And now we're going to add a little bit of the Bugman Glow. And I put it on the side of the white so I won't contaminate my brush. So you want a little bit of water, a little bit of more Pilot Witch Flesh than Bugman's Glow. So a little bit of water. Again, you don't want it to be that runny. So when I see the paint compared to the model, the color is a bit too dark, so we want to add more Pilot Witch Flesh. And you don't have to paint the whole model with it. Just paint a little bit, small piece, compare it. Are you satisfied? Oh, I have some little bit of Bugman's Glow in the Pilot Witch Flesh, but I scooped it out again. So now I'm gonna stir this up, and you're gonna see that the pink will be a little bit of a lighter color. I'm gonna add some water. Just dip my brush into the clean water ball. I think this is the color we need. Yeah, I think so. This is it. A little bit of more water. And it's a feeling. Again, maybe I tell you guys it a lot, but there is no meta, 2 drops water, 2 drops paint, 2 this, 2 that, no. Okay. So what you want to do is get a little bit on your brush. And now we're gonna paint the highest parts. The highest parts. So you don't want to be careful around the pustules, because you want the Druchi Violet to show through. And you can see that the color that I'm now painting on, that we just mixed, is a little bit lighter than the yellowish color of the shade. It's very hard to paint, but it's a very important step. So over here, paint the crack. Now upper part. And leave the recesses darker. you see the color change? Over here and over here. And when my brush is almost clean of paint, because I used all the paint on the model, then I dip it into water just a little bit on the tip of the brush, and then I go back into the mixed paint mixture. Dip it into water, load your brush up with some new paint. And you don't want the water of the paint to be that thick. So if you see that your paint is becoming too thick, your mixture on the palette, just dip your brush into the clean water and add some water, stir it back up again, and you're good to go. It's really simple. Look how clean. And don't paint all the way to the edges. Leave that Druchi Violet to show through. Just a little bit of tricky business over here. So over here you can see the yellow of the shade, and you're picking up the highest parts. Paint around the pustules. And if this paint is not covering the purple wash in one go, that's okay, because we're gonna add a lot of more layers to this mixture. So So the tail bit over here, don't paint it all the way to the armor. So now I'm gonna switch to a smaller brush. And with that smaller brush, you want to paint all the raised edges of the flesh. So the next thing I'm going to do is off camera. I'm gonna paint all these raised edges because on camera it's very hard, and then I'm gonna show you. So I completed this side. Grab my brush. Over here, paint it carefully around the pustules. And over here. Over here, over here, over here, and all the raised edges of the flesh I layered up. So this will be your final result, and this will be your starting result. And you want to also layer the piping where the flesh is on, still on, over here with and over here the piping I'm going to do now, so you can see the differentiation of how to paint the piping. Not all the way to the end. See over here, so you see the wash that is built up over there, and the brighter layer of color just above it, and over here. Really carefully paint around the holes. Wow. So the first layer is done. Now I'm going to the back side, but the back side I do off camera. I finished the back side and the pipings, left and right, and now we're gonna do the face. Hopefully I can do it on cam. Would be nice. Carefully painting the pipings. Just like this. So. So you can see now this side of the face is done and this side not. So I'll do this side of camera and see you guys soon. And with now all the flesh is complete, all you have to do is add to the mixture Palette Witch Flesh. Mix it up, a little bit of water. Now the paint is going to be a little bit of brighter. I need more Palette Witch Flesh. Add some water. a little bit too thick, so 1 drop of water, nah, maybe 2. Maybe 2, hello. Plop. So, and with this new mixture, a little bit of lighter mixture, you're gonna repeat the process just as before, but leave a little bit of the first color at the edges. Well, I don't think the camera is picking the color up that good. But there's nothing I could do about it, because I'm a madman. Now, well, I don't think the effect is coming out on camera, but it's just like the first step, but you don't want to paint all the way. Too bright on the camera. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to do my best. So, and you repeat this process again. Add palette witch flesh to your mixture. Make it a little bit brighter than the color before, and just start painting and leave in the recesses the previous color alone. Okay, and with that final color is done, you will get pretty much This is the outcome. And then we're gonna paint metal straps over here, and then we're gonna layer up the bone. I've painted the metal straps over here and over here and over here. I've layered the bone back up with Zandri Dust, which was the initial color we painted the bone. And if you can see it over here, this part closest to the armor, that part you want to avoid. So if you're painting the bone back with Zandri Dust, you stop over here with painting. So you paint this. You leave the thing closest to the armor of where the part is that is attached to. You leave that the original color with Agrax Earthshade. And when you layer it all back up, the next color you're gonna use is Rakarth Flesh. And with Rakarth Flesh, what you want to do is paint the horns. Some little bit of watered down Rakarth Flesh, but you want to paint it 2/3 up. So 2/3 of the bone you're gonna paint Rakarth Flesh. It's a little bit watered down. So, and you do that with all the bone. So this is your end result. On the right we have done it with Rakarth Flesh, and on the left we didn't do anything. But I want to show you the horns on top, the bone horns. So what you want to do is 2/3, leave the darkest areas. Dark, where the shade is settled, avoid it. And don't end this in a straight line, that looks funny. So end it like this. Just a little bit of striping. It looks way more natural. So you can see here, this part we have done, and this part need to be done. So the bone is now all complete, and now you're gonna paint with Buckman's Glow all those fleshy parts between the horns. Don't forget to paint the skulls with the Rakarth Flesh too. already looks a lot nicer. And with some Agrax Earthshade, you're gonna wash the skulls of the pendulum over here. Hit them skulls. Skull! Now with some Khorne Red, I'm gonna layer up the red flies on the armor. Just a little bit of water down. You want to spread the paint around. Be careful around the edges. And you will see when this paint dries that it gives a really dulled down effect. So you want to water your paint down quite a bit. So and with a not so watered down paint of Khorne Red, you want to layer the hoses back up, but you want to avoid the edges. So you can see over here, I'm just layering this back up and I'm avoiding the edges. So over here you can see a dark line over here and over here. That are the parts that I want to be dark. This piping you see over here, we're gonna paint black. So the hose is ripped open. So this we're gonna layer back up because there's some metallic paint on it from the dry brushing. And over here the piping is still intact, so you want it between the hoses, layer it back up just to make it a little bit brighter. Look, the flies have already dried, and you can see that with the watered down paint it dried out quite nicely. And you have some, it's still a dull effect, so it's a little bit of grim appearance. Not when I painted just Khorne Red, not watered down that much. Yeah, this is that color, and this is too much. So you see the outcome of it over here too. And what we've done with the red, the same thing we're gonna do with the yellow. Yes. Layer your base color back up, but avoid the edges. So you want to have over here a darker line between those pipings. You can see over here that this darker line is too much, so really careful kneading it up. So, and on the back side you can see it over here. that part has to neaten it up, needs to be neatened up, and over here. Okay, and we let that dry. You can already see the contrast of the reds, the purples, the color of the skin piping. The next step is with some black to paint the islands black, this part of the piping from the red pipe, the inner pipe painted black. This is the only color I use in this tutorial that is not a Citadel color, because I think the Citadel color is the worst black. I don't even know what's the name of it. It's the worst black ever. This black from Vallejo is way better than GW. Be really careful around the edges. So, do you see the difference? Only the eyeball I've painted, and the model it's way beautifuler. It completes the model. So over here, this piping, you can see a little bit of dry brushing of the metallic still on, and that part you want to be black because that part of the hose is ripped open. So this is sort of inner hose that's now exposed. If you really have a steady hand, you can also do it with these parts, or you can paint these parts blue or another color, green, that the inner tube has a different color. Then you create a kind of contrast, and that makes your model pop more. And that is Fluffy, my tarantula. And now I'm gonna show you a little trick. We're gonna paint the yellow piping, so you can see over here in hazard striping. It looks so cool. And what you need for this is a pencil and some black paint, of course, but the lines you're gonna paint with a pen. And it's really simple. It's a fine liner, and with that fine liner you can make your lines, paint your lines really sharp, as you can see over here. And then the only thing you have to do is to paint the, look over here, you can see a really sharp line. And this pen, you can buy it everywhere at an office store or okay, that's the first line. And we want the black to go over here, because that part we want to leave it yellow, because that part will give a good contrast with the dark background. If you do that thing black, I don't know, that's the way to go. So you have to think how white you want the striping to be, and then just really carefully paint the line around the hose. And all you have to do is paint this part black and continue it all the way up. So the next this part we want to be yellow. So the next line is coming, I think, right about over here. And then the same width of the first stripe, you mark it down, trace the line all around the hose, and I'm going to continue this step because it's very hard on camera. And then we're gonna paint the stripes in with some black paint. I do one on camera and the rest I will do off camera, because I want to do it neat. I want a really strong line, and off camera I have more control. So you can see it's a really strong line, so no wobbling line with your brush. And now I'm going to paint all the black. And we are back. As you can see here, I've painted all the black stripes. Really nice, neat, nice color. So, and now we're gonna wash the Buckman's Glow fleshy parts over here, just with Reikland Fleshshade. We're gonna paint it straight out of the pot. So don't forget the backside. And we continue the epicness with the following color: Yriel Yellow. And with this color we're gonna paint the yellow of the piping. And with this color, same as all the colors before, we want to make it brighter, but not too bright. And you want the edges to be Averland Sunset, so don't paint it all the way to the back. And maybe you will have to do this 2 coats. It's all fine, because yet again we've watered down the paint. Okay, because over there you can see this yellow. This yellow is way more brighter than the Averland Sunset. And with this Averland Sunset as a base color, it just covers nice. It may not cover in one go, but that's okay. You've got all the time. I have some plague barrels of Nurgle. I'm going to paint too. So the yellow piping is done. It's a little bit more brighter than the Averland Sunset, and it's not too bright, so we leave it like here. And with that done, it's about time to paint these two pipings. I mean these little ones. I leave them not colored because I've noticed that with this model I've painted it already, that I had to neaten this up way too many times, and because of the paint that was on there, and that's a waste of time. So now it's about time to do it with Lead Belcher. We let that dry, and then we're gonna shade it with Agrax Earthshade or Null Oil, what you prefer. And I think this is a great time to paint the purple tentacles. And we're gonna dry brush, so it's my dry brush toilet paper tissue, and the color is Genestealer Purple. So you dab it off, work it into the bristles. Okay. And then you just gently you see the color is building up over here. You see the line, really nice fade in. It's very important that you don't have much on your brush, because you want those textured lines to be seen. And if you take too much on your brush, then you just smack it in there, and then it's just a purple tentacle with no texture at all. And so you can see the lines still showing through. Take it one step further, we're gonna use Emperor's Children. And then we're gonna use the same technique. So the bristles of my dry brush are all almost dry. And then we're gonna start at the end of the tentacle, so over here, because over here you want to be that the colors to be the strongest. Still the details of the recess of the tentacle showing through, and so it's a little bit brighter and nice. color differentiation from dark to light. And don't forget to dry brush the inner side. That is done. You can see it over here. Really nice. And what we're gonna do now, I think of painting the islands. And for the islands, the first color we're gonna use is Xeros Purple. And you want that paint to thin down quite a bit. And what you want to do is don't come with your paint in this area. This area that I'm marking with my brush, the upper right corner, you want that to be black. So you're gonna start over here and then you're gonna draw it to the right to the right bottom side. Just like this. And then you're gonna do exactly the same with Genestealer Purple. But leave the edges of the first layer of purple darker. So you got this. And the second to last color we're gonna use Emperor Children. Same process as before. Water it down quite a bit. And then you're gonna paint this area. Same process before, and you leave a little bit of the lighter the Genestealer Purple showing. This should be your result. The last color we're gonna use is Palette Witch Flesh. Tone it down just a little bit, and I have grabbed a smaller brush with a sharp point. And with the Palette Witch Flesh, you want to trace a little line in focus, come on. So I've painted a little line in the Emperor's Children purple, just a little line. And now what you want to do is make a very sharp point at your brush, and in this corner you want to paint two stripes, just like this. Look. So in the bottom left corner you see the color building up from dark to light, and in the right corner 2 little stripes. So this should be your end result. You can see it dark, a little bit lighter, a little bit lighter. So, and from a distance it will now look just if there's some depth is in the lens. And now we're gonna highlight the reds with Wazdakka Red. And what you have to do, again, I'm saying this way too much, but you don't want to dilute the paint with water, and what you want to do is highlight the edges of the fly. Just like this. I'm saying just like this over and over again. Now the tail. Done. The eyes, it's very hard to do in this position. So this will be your outcome. And then over here with the Wazdakka Red, you want to just bring a highlight to the red. Where the sun hits the red the most. So this part over here in between, you're gonna leave that alone, and I'm gonna retrace it off camera. You can see the flies are highlighted and the talisman thing I've also highlighted. And now the next paint we're gonna use is Buckman's Glow again. And with this color you won't want it to be watered down. I've painted this one already. You want to paint the crack, or maybe you already have the crack in base colors of the skin, and you want to paint the flesh parts that are sticking out of the armor. I will do it with more control. I'll be right back. And then you're gonna use the Buckman's Glow again, just a little bit. One, maybe a half, let me say half drop. Clean off your brush. And then the same technique, we're gonna start picking some palette witch flesh. You want the color brighter than the original Buckman's Glow. And then you're gonna paint the cracks again, but don't all the way. Just give the Buckman's Glow over here an edge highlight. gonna start over here. This one, pretty good to see on camera. So, boom. Contrast. Now we're gonna do it over here. I'm gonna try to do on camera. So, look over here. You can see the depth. And now, there's no need for this to be dry. Grab the palette with flesh again. Grab a huge blob. Dip it back in here. So, mix it up and make it lighter. So over here you can see the original color, and this blob is the new color, and it's a little bit lighter. So, and with that color we're gonna give the flesh a really small highlight. It doesn't take much. So this will be our outcome. Bam! It's almost pro painted, eh guys? But don't tell anyone, please. And with the scratch done, well, almost done, because we're gonna take this one step further. But before we're gonna do it, we're gonna paint the plague inlets. The plague inlets, yeah. With Runefang Steel. Just to take it to a higher level. Just to give it some contrast. You don't need much, just a little bit. Water it a little bit down. And with that Runefang Steel, you want to paint it a little bit of more, so you can already see it. The blocks, they're sticking out, you want to highlight. This side we did, and the other side we don't. So Okay, it's almost complete. The pustules we still gotta do. What are we gonna do? What we gonna do? We almost there, boys and girls. And with this simple cheese tutorial, we're gonna paint the pustules with Averland Sunset. You have, with this step, you have to really be careful. And I tell you the truth. I will not going to do them all on camera because I don't want it to screw it up. But you don't want to paint the pustules all the way. So you want the base. So the darker ring that you see, you want that to be shown, just to give it some contrast. So I'm now gonna paint all the pustules with a dot of Averland Sunset, all of them. I've painted all the pustules with the Averland Sunset, and then don't forget them on the piping and in the face. So, when the Averland Sunset is drying, we're gonna grab the Reikland Fleshshade again, and with that shade you want to apply it in the crack. So over here, just paint it in there. You won't need much. Just to tie it all together. And now we're going back to Yriel Yellow, and with that color you want to give the pustules the final highlight. And do this here, boom, just to make them pop. You want to really be careful and hit all the yellow pustules, just with a little bit of and drop of your yellow, just to make it a little bit brighter. But you already can see it over here. You can see that all the pustules are very bright and disgusting. And the next step we're gonna do is, I've zoomed a little bit in so you can see, so you guys can see it. Over here in the armor, this line or this line, there's no shade in it. So what you want to grab is the Athonian Camoshade, and with that shade we're gonna just shade the recesses of the armor. And then again, I tell you, this is just to take it a step further. Just to blend all the colors and to give it a shade. We made a little mistake over here because it's really an annoying angle to do this, but you can, with a wash it's no problem at all. You can already make your brush clean and you just suck the paint back up. Okay, so that was it. You can use just to shade it over here and over here. shade the holes. And then we're gonna make the holes even a little bit darker, and we're gonna make rust trails out of it with some browns. You can see over here the flesh, and now you're gonna see, it's strange, but you can see the eye, the effect on the eye too. Okay, let it dry. We're almost near completion. And with the race near to completion, we're gonna highlight the armor with Nurgling Green. And with this color, well, you don't need much. You don't want that to be diluted with water. So it's really thin paint for itself. So what you want to do is grab the paint and paint the edges of the armor. And my technique is that I'm using little strokes. So I don't paint any line, no, I stroke it. Over here, hope you guys can see it. I make this movement with my brush. I don't want the line to be neat. No. So I'm gonna zoom out. And now we're going to highlight the crack, and you want the crack on the right side or the left side to be highlighted. Just follow the edges, follow the cracks, and what it does, it gives a little bit of contrast. So now, look, boom, blazing, blazing, blazing. And you want to do it over here. Just over here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna zoom in. Look, you can see all the golden over here. Just make little strokes. It's okay to leave some things behind. It's okay that it is not a continuous line. It's okay. And these steps will make your model stand out, because you can see it over here and over here. Definition. We're gonna also do it here. Be careful not to touch the engine. Same as over here, with where the bone hits the armor. Just a little highlight of Nurgling Green. Because when you zoom in, it doesn't look that pretty, but when we're gonna zoom out, so well, now you can see it very good. You can see over here the line of the Nurgling Green, and over here you don't see a line. Over here you can see it on the edges of the bone, and over here you won't. And this side is now way more balanced than this side. So we continue to do that on this side, and don't forget to do it over here. I'm gonna zoom in again. The wash is still a little bit wet, if you see it, but it's okay, because bam. Over here you see the crack, just a little bit on the crack. It will help making it look. So what we gotta do is over here, don't forget the edges of the guns. So to do it over here, a little bit beneath over here, can't do any harm. And then the model is almost complete. So we're gonna continue doing that. Just to create some effect, we're gonna use Doombull Brown, and with that paint we're gonna dilute it a little bit with a little bit of water, and then we're gonna paint rust trails. Gonna zoom in a little bit. So this is the part we're gonna paint the rust trail. Over here. done. Doesn't need, there's no need to do it any further. But you can also use it, I'm gonna show you, to paint in, let's say, propeller. Over here and over here. Just to, yeah, just to make contrast, to add something. A little bit at the base, a little bit at the propeller, but the important thing is that you water it down. Use it as some kind of, yeah, well, wash. Okay. And just to finish the gold off, we're gonna use the oxide, Nihilakh Oxide, Nihilakh Oxide. And with this color, well, what I do most of the time is I open the pot, and there's always a little bit of paint here, and in there I'm going to 1 drop of clean water, because I think the color is way too strong if it's not diluted with any water, so 1 drop is enough. Okay, same again as the blood effects. You don't want to overdo this, because yeah, it's too much, never enough. So we paint a little line. That is enough. The guns. That is enough. And let it dry. And don't forget the backside. And now I grab my old friend, and my old friend is called Undercoat. And it's well, it's an Undercoat. It's a varnish. And with the varnish you want to paint the lens. Because a lens is shiny. The purple tentacles, because they're supposed to be slimy. And then the last step of this bloat drone, the last color to finish the drone, is Runefang Steel. Paint it straight out of the pot, and you see the nails, the rivets, and you want to highlight all the rivets. So over here. So, and you want to continue, and if you made a mistake, so like I did over here, just put a little shade around the well, the nail. That will cover it up. Well, and with the rivets done, the bloat drone is complete.
And now we're going to paint the base black.
And with the model now complete, we're gonna start painting the base. The first color we're gonna use is the Fang. And with the Fang, dry brush, it's a heavy dry brush. The base, it's a little bit of dark, bluish color. And watch out when you're close to the model. Because you don't want any blues on the yellow pinstriping. Because that will be a shame. Such a shame. Oh, this is too much. It's too much on my brush. You can see it over here. So the second dry brush color we're gonna use is Celestra Gray. And with this, I don't clean off my brush, by the way. And with this color you want a fairly lighter dry brush. So this will be your outcome. And now the final color, we're gonna use Athonian Gray. Athonian Gray. So the final dry brush color. And this is a little bit of a lighter color, so you have to be really carefully. You don't want to overdo it. The only thing you want to do is to hit the edges of the rocks. You won't need much. So, now the base color is done. Now we're gonna paint the rim black. And with that said, I've painted the rim black. Just dull down your paint with a little bit of water so you got a nice smooth finish. It's still a little bit of wet. And then I've put some tufts on the base. And the white that you see is just glue. And the glue will dry out clear, so you won't even bother. So, the last step we're gonna do is paint some Nurgles rot. So over here you can see the piping. The piping is all ripped out and ripped off. And now you wanna make a kind of effect that the Nurgle's rot is dripping out of the hoses. You want to apply it a little bit thick. And he's dragging along and he's leaving a trail of pus behind. And this will be your final result. I want to thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe our channel, There's a lot more coming up. Plague bearers, plague drones, nurglings, whatever. And please send me pictures if you followed this tutorial. So please ask my email and then I will give it to you, and I will hope to see pictures of you guys painting and following this tutorial. And then in the next video tutorial I can add your pictures to my video just to show you guys. And well, thank you for watching. This was Simple Cheese signing out.